What is good, guys and gals, and welcome to the Films and Pixels podcast, episode 8. I'm your host, Afif, and today we've got some pretty interesting collection of topics. Now, I'm going to be reacting and reviewing the Tinder Swindler, the documentary that was released on Netflix, some more Blackberry related news, and lately things haven't gone well for them. And I'm going to be asking and debating the question, is Elden Ring already Game of the Year contender? I'll tell you why I think so already. Plus the status of the Marvel Netflix shows and what's next for them. And plus possible Gotham Knights TV show going into production. And if it'll pick up order on any TV network. But before I go forward, please make sure, if you haven't before, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps an independent channel such as this one. Like and follow the social media pages, comment in the comment section below. It does help engagement, bring more views, grabs more attention, so it does me a favor. Thank you so much if you have made the effort. And without further ado, let's get going. Okay, for the first topic, I'm going to be talking about my review for the Tinder Swindler. And wow, was this a shocker. I mean, look, first of all, I do want to, really just give all the credit for the brave women that willingly spoke out on their situation. Now, it's just watching, I was just completely mind blown and shocked at the number of financial losses they have suffered, and still they're paying their debts to this day, taking out loans of hundreds and thousands of dollars to pay a man who claims to be under threat and running away from his enemies. The man in question is Simon Leviev. And, it's not just these three women, Cecilia, Pernilla, and Aileen, who have spoken. Yes, they're the three women that spoke in the documentary about he has done this to so many victims. It's just crazy how he lives off their finances and has this lavish lifestyle with a fake alias while running away from his home country because of his war crimes. Now, this all happened, as they explained, going through Tinder, and he's a match and brainwashes them, hypnotizes them, he tells them he loves them, flowers, wants to spend the rest of their lives with them, have a family, and then when he's in trouble, please, can you help me with this and this amount of money? It's just kind of crazy. I mean, to think that someone thinks it's okay to get away with it, fake aliases, and being the son of a wealthy entrepreneur or someone who, LLD Diamonds Leviev, who have no relation with Simon. It's just crazy. Like, even seeing the psychological effects and how one of them almost committed suicide and needed to be admitted to psychiatric ward. I mean, it's crazy. Like, at the staggering numbers, I don't remember it specifically. Like, what, $250,000 at one point, taking loans from American Express and like 9 banks that these women have to pay debts to. Now, I do give them credit for the courage at some point, also speaking to journalists and photojournalists, giving them all the evidence, even though it was painful. And I do understand it. The archive footage, photos, text messages, voice notes, from a Norwegian newspaper called VG Newspaper that made the story public. So that's where the Tinder Swindler name came from. And I thought it was a very eye-popping subject. I mean, to think that also at one point he even made promises to pay them back, and all that he did was give them like fake watches and fake documents forged that are not approved or anything like that. It's just awful. I mean, really, but they should be credited for the bravery and the willingness to speak out. It just tells me also like how the mobile technology apps that we have today, unfortunately, can easily be used to an attacker's advantage against us in so many ways. So it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of shocking. the kind of losses. I mean, knowing at the end how he has still gotten away with it and the debts they still have to pay to this day is crazy. The third woman, I think she's from Prague. I think her name is Aileen. What I really liked about her is that despite the horrifying situation she found herself in, what she did is like on eBay sell many different high value, lavish clothes, whether it's from Gucci or Prada or whomever. And then when he finds out about it, he goes crazy, he goes nuts, angry through WhatsApp voice notes, and still very upset. While upset at her, still like shaken by it, but she loves the fact that she drove him crazy. And even like, knowing the precise times she was going on a flight to Greece and helped police authorities get him captured is amazing, even though he went to prison for a separate charge, but not for this. So unfortunately, it's not the happy ending that they want. And, they all since then had to open a GoFundMe.com to help pay for their debts to the banks. It's just awful. And the effects it's had on their families. So, yeah, the director for this documentary, Felicity Morris, if I'm correct, really did a great job. And I think it was in the end, she showed a small clip where he found out that they were filming this documentary and he threatened to sue her and everyone involved for defamation and lies. So it just shows how he's willing to protect himself, calling himself innocent. I mean, it's just terrible. And even like at one point, his own mother was in the documentary, but her face blurred on purpose to protect her. And even saying that she hasn't spoken to him or even heard from him since he was 18. So he's been running away, taking money, using money from innocent women through Tinder, lavish lifestyle, private jets, 5-star restaurants, parties, also alongside his bodyguard and business partner, whether it's a diamonds business or some other kind of industry that he's made up. I mean, it's awful. Now that I think about it, is it sort of like that Spielberg movie, Catch Me If You Can? Let me know if you think so. But otherwise, it's just terrible. I think, well, in comparison, it's not totally like that as he's trying to run away from his own family in that movie. But this is a more serious situation where Leviev really put a lot of women almost financially broke and in serious debt. So, I mean, it's just terrible. I'm just glad that the story is out and public from now on. All right, so as most of you may already be aware, Blackberry mobile devices, whether it's Blackberry 10 mobile phones or even much older than that, such as the Curves, the Bolds, and so forth, have already been stopped being operational, shut down, and so forth. But now the hits have taken even more further. Onward Mobility have announced that they lost the license to the Blackberry name. There were hopes that they would have manufactured and produce and also market like a 5G Blackberry phone in the near future. But I mean, that's not likely going to happen for the Canadian Blackberry Limited mobile firm. So this is kind of unfortunate. This also comes on the heels of the company selling like their legacy patents for $600 million while retaining a license to use them. And, it is unfortunate. Like even like some of the Blackberry mobile phones that use the Android software, there are a few, while some have been discontinued, what's no longer continuing going forward, like the Priv and D-Tech have discontinued, while some of the others like Key 1, Key 2, Aurora, Motion, and Evolve Blackberry models are still ongoing, but clearly we don't hear much from the company because they're not exactly selling the market high and all that, unlike most of the other big names, whether it's the iPhones, the Samsungs, the Huawei's, or any other name I'm missing on top of my head, but I think most of the people know who and what I'm talking about. So yeah, they were supposed to be in charge of designing, marketing, producing new Android smartphones for the BlackBerry. So they had they had the license after TCL, who partnered with the company, lost the licensing that lapsed. And you know, it's one of those rare only mobile technology companies that really manufacture phones with the physical keyboards, and I personally like those keyboards. I've always struggled with touch keyboards, even to this day, so it is kind of unfortunate, but understandable. Now, in the past, BlackBerry and TCL did work on prior phones such as D-Tech 50 and D-Tech 60 phones, and also Key One. So clear it didn't work out. Um, Based on some quotes I have from Android Police, said that sources cited continued supply chain related delays combined with BlackBerry CEO John Chen's change of heart around another BlackBerry branded smartphone as factors that led to the decision. And so it's clear why Onward Mobility decided not to go ahead with another phone while not being able to use the BlackBerry name. And, you know, it's not clear if the company will even manage to continue going forward or what kind of provider, maybe software provider. I mean, if they can't even use their own BlackBerry 10 software anymore, that says a lot. I used to have, I think maybe the Bold, and I really was a big fan of the Q5 and Q10 mobile phones because of the keyboard, the size, and still the easygoing OS that was kind of like a between an iOS and Android in some ways, especially the ways that it had like an organizational hub of checking apps and emails and so forth. So it is unfortunate that the physical keyboard company seems to be less and less active. But I mean, you know, I do hope in some ways, like maybe it's just me personally saying this, but I mean, I do hope physical keyboards will come back, even though everyone has quickly adjusted to touchscreen typing. And I have as well, but it's not always for me. I always, just like certain typos and so forth, misspellings, but I don't know. I just hope that there's a solution to their problems and what kind of phones they might manufacture, even though I don't think it'll be very popular going forward. Now this topic, me personally, I'm actually very excited about. Now, guys and gals, finally, after years of anticipation, trailers, and all that exciting stuff, rumors, and so forth, finally, Elden Ring is finally here and available to play. Finally, Elden Ring is out, available for all modern game platforms, whether it's Windows, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series. This is going to be good. And you know what? As for the reviews, now that the embargo has been lifted, so many journalists are already saying it's like a masterpiece and one of the greatest video games of all time. And that's saying something when you look at their previous work, like the Demon Souls, Dark Souls trilogy, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. It's already gotten like a universally critically acclaimed higher number, like 95, 97 through Metacritic. Now, obviously, in this situation for this game, review copies were handed out for Windows, PS5, Series X. So anything regarding for PS4, Xbox One S, One X, PS4 Pro, it doesn't entirely matter. But you know what? That's fine by me. I mean, like, the new gen consoles are really the more powerful machines. And plus, it's the one that's going to grab most of the attention and clearly from software focused on those platforms. So it's really fine. If there's one interesting thing I do want to say about the new game, it's gotten comparisons with two prior masterpieces from different companies, like The Legend of Zelda The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which has gotten compared to, and Shadow of the Colossus. Now, unlike the previous From Software games that are known as always to be very punishing, difficult, and so forth, in this case, while those games have always been interconnected with level designs and at least having the space, the freedom to explore, but for this game it's more of a open world, and this time what you can do is traverse with horseback riding with a creature that looks like a half horse half cow thing. Now the premise, from what I understood, like the players can take the role of the lonely tarnished in an open world environment called the Land Between. Now, the premise is about the Elden Ring shards being scattered with the realm being ruled by an eternal queen, the offspring of an eternal queen. Players have to traverse through the Great Ruins, restore Elden Ring, and become Elden Lord. So that sounds pretty epic. One of the reasons why there was so much excitement and hype for this game is simply because of, From Software game director Hidetaka Miyazaki, who has done most of the games as game director. Although I do want to mention Dark Souls 2, which for the most part is very good, but for some reason not very loved, maybe because of level design or whatever. Dark Souls 2, he was game supervisor while someone else was director, but for most of the other Soulsborne, Sekiro games, he was director. So he takes the role once again. And he did contact George R.R. Martin, the same George R.R. Martin, responsible for his novels A Song of Fire and Ice, which itself has inspired the Game of Thrones television series. So that's pretty good. He was a fan of Martin's work. So Miyazaki and Martin collaborated on giving him the creative freedom with an overarching backstory of the game's universe, the lore, and so forth. So Martin has had some involvement with the game. What's even more interesting is that some members from the Game of Thrones TV staff did assist as well with the game's development. So you can see how with big names like Miyazaki, George R.R. Martin did have involvement with the new game. Gameplay in terms of combat seems similar to before, but it doesn't mean like it's like a tired formula at this point, despite the fact that there have been like some like a sub genre, whether it's like a Souls-like or Soulsborne sub action RPG genre by other gaming developers that have made games inspired by it, and it shows the inspiration. It shows that it doesn't have to be easy and holding the player's hand, but challenging them, making them persevere, making it difficult if they have to. And even looking back, like Dark Souls 1, it's still considered one of the greatest masterpieces and one of the greatest games ever, which is why I'm glad it did get remastered. I mean, remastered at 1080p 60 FPS. I mean, I have the original for the PS3, and oh my god, are those frame rates just awful. So I'm glad, me personally, that that game got remastered. And I love everything about Bloodborne. But that's why, like, although I'm not totally anxious to get a copy of Elden Ring right now, but I'm just glad and really not shocked that it is basically another great masterpiece. And I think it's going to be that one game that already a Game of the Year contender, and I wouldn't be shocked if throughout different award ceremonies, of course it's going to get nominated, but I do strongly believe it'll nab multiple Game of the Year awards. Okay, so I do have a little bit of piece of news that now has been going on lately. First of all, some people may already be aware, especially Marvel fans. I know I'm very much aware. Netflix has announced that all of their Marvel TV shows that were on Netflix will be leaving the network. Similar to what we saw with other TV shows like How I Met Your Mother and so forth, no longer being streamed on Netflix. Those Marvel comic book TV shows such as, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Punisher, and also The Defenders that used to be home to Netflix are not going to be on the network anymore. Now, not much has been said. I do believe that this is because of a licensing contract likely to be expired by now. And that's not exactly surprising, especially since a couple of years ago, Disney Plus being available and a lot of the Marvel content on Disney Plus, so it does make sense. And speaking of which, there was also a confirmation that those Marvel TV shows are going to be moved over to Disney Plus. Now, they'll be leaving Netflix February 28th, and then they'll be on Disney Plus March 1. And also another Marvel-related TV show, there could be a possibility of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all 7 seasons, also on Disney Plus. It used to be on ABC. And I think it is on Netflix at this point. I haven't really noticed it, but it seems like they'll be moved over to that platform as well. And it's not exactly shocking. I mean, if there is maybe one clue I may have noticed, it's the obvious cameo appearance of Charlie Cox reprising his role as Matt Murdock in the Spider Man No Way Home film. And to me, that was actually really exciting. Some people may not be aware. If you didn't watch Daredevil through all three seasons on Netflix, and they just wondered who is this guy, the same actor from the Netflix Daredevil show. So when I saw it in theaters, I was very much happy and excited and pleased that he even made like a simple cameo appearance. But if there's a concern I have with the move to Disney Plus, it's maybe the R-rated content because it's mostly like a family-friendly streaming platform, and what I've noticed is that it's not really anything R-rated. So I'm just concerned that because those shows can be a bit bloody, gore, maybe at some moments a bit too sexual, because it through Netflix platform it allowed to go a bit above and beyond. So I'm just worried that it might hurt the family friendly image of the Disney Plus streaming service and Disney's network, and or I mean like their brand image. But I mean, I still think it's a good idea. And look, I don't think it'll. I mean, look, it'll still keep Disney have this like family friendly look, but at some point they have to mature a little bit, if you know what I mean. You have more people interested in the network instead of just being too childish. You get what I mean? So I'm glad they're making this move, and I think it's a smart idea as well to have all the Marvel property kind of united together, or kind of grouped, I should say, in one streaming service. Speaking of comic book related TV shows, there is one more on the side of DC Comics that's now actually going to be in production. Some people may already be aware of Gotham Knights, but when I do say Gotham Knights, they're probably thinking of the upcoming video game starring Batgirl, Nightwing, Robin, and Red Hood, the four playable characters. Now, the premise of that game is basically, with the death of Batman, now Gotham under threat of Court of Owls, and you can traverse through the open world with the four sidekick characters that now are going to be taking the lead and so forth in a story. I don't fully know what that story is like, but again, I don't really know too much. In fact, it was supposed to come out in 2022, but all of a sudden it got delayed all the way to next year in 2023. So that remains to be seen how development goes. But the reason why I'm mentioning the Gotham Knights is because there's going to be a TV series going into production. There's a tweet about it for like April 22 production start. What's not clear if what network and if it's going to be ordered and picked up. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be picked up by the CW. The CW has for many years, like almost a decade actually, it's been home to TV shows like Arrow, which ran through 8 seasons, and Supergirl for 6 seasons. And currently there's The Flash, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, an upcoming show called Naomi, Superman and Lois show, Stargirl, and Black Lightning. So some DC comic book properties already on the CW, and who knows? I mean, Gotham Knights could join that list, but I'm interested to see where it goes. I do hope it's kind of like a bit more on the dark, gritty, even violent side, sort of like what we're already seeing with the Titans, or Teen Titans, the Titans, yeah, the Titans show that's on Netflix. I really like the tone of that Titans show, a bit more grim, realistic sort of thing. It's a good thing. I mean, DC are not exactly bright, colorful, sort of happy-go-lucky, sort of like the Marvel brand, while DC's not always the dark and gritty. I do like how they have that tone. So I expect Gotham Knights the same thing. If the show will have the Court of Owls antagonist, it's not exactly clear at this point, but I'm interested to see where it goes. I do hope the quality is very good and very high. But will it release at the same time as the actual video game? I think if they're both available around the same time, it'll be very interesting promotion And I do think as well that there's going to be a lot of interest in the Gotham Knights IP in both TV and video game whenever it launches. All right, I guess that pretty much covers up everything throughout the Films and Pixels podcast episode 8. So that's pretty much it for today's episode. If you have watched from beginning to end, I would like to say thank you for the time you have put in from your busy day, from your busy weekend, whatever plans you've had. Once again, if you didn't before, please click on the subscribe button to this YouTube channel. It helps out a lot. Any donation to Patreon page is always welcome. Small donation is good. Like and follow the social media pages. Like this channel as well. Helps with the engagement as well. Helps the viewership go up. Any sort of comments in the comment section is always welcome. Helps with the engagement. Helps with more engagement as well. Brings more interest to the episode. Brings more interest to the channel. So again, thank you so much. And without further ado, until next time, thank you for watching episode 8 of this podcast.